Okay, welcome everybody to the July 6th weekly JupyterLab call. Today we have 16 people on the call. Hopefully more will join as we continue. If you haven't already and are so inclined, please find the link to the agenda in the chat and add your name to the list. And if there's something you'd like to discuss, add an agenda item. So far we have one, so I'm going to put my name here because I'd like to talk a little bit, follow up on RTC, but spoiler alert, I'm going to say let's talk in the RTC meeting more about this. But for now, why don't we get started? So the first person on the agenda is Frederic. You are up.
You are sorry. Yeah, I pressed too quickly. Sorry. Thanks, Darian. Hey, everybody. I've tried to do a patch release, but we got a bit hit by a new version of NB Classic. We have discussed about it in the previous meeting, and that was just before this one. And Eric Scharz is gonna push a PR on NB Classic that should fix the CI for 3.4.x. So hopefully we're gonna be able to do a release like soon. That was just to mention it. And then I also have done some maintenance on JupyterLab on the master. And there is some trouble that are linked with Lerna. So basically, when you want to bump a version using Lerna, it's using to the graph dependency, taking into account also the def dependency of your package. And so if a package is bumped, then all downstream package are bumped too. And the trouble is because test utils is like creating a circular dependency to everything. This makes the bump like not very fine grain as we would like to. So I've done a PR to refactor all the test utils, because basically that means removing almost everything that's in the separate package to place them in the right package and link them together correctly in core. And also I realized that there are some packages that are in a chicken and egg configuration, like the render mime package test, they requires notebook package for being done. So that's bad for like the hierarchy of the package. So in that PR, I propose that some of the tests to be moved, that they are to be moved to meta package by lack of other places, because they basically need every package to be run. So I really would like some other people to look at that PR and bring their thought about them. And then the last point for me is that there is the performance meeting of July just after this meeting, or maybe after, like, meaning at the next hour, because it may be a short one.
Thank you, Fred. Yeah, it is looking like it might be a short call. Okay. First off, any comments on what Fred had to say before we move on? Okay, cool. Last week we had a conversation that extended into overtime on real-time collaboration. In the interim, I have been looking at Kevin's PR that he presented somewhat last week, but we couldn't talk at length about. And I've also been looking closely at Carlos's PR. I actually have been working on sort of experimenting with some of the ideas in Carlos's PR. So if you're following this closely, you may have seen that I pushed some code up there today that isn't actually being used, but it is meant to potentially replace some of the shared types that Carlos introduced, but to not have them in a special package, rather have them be in the JupyterLab application package as just collaborative primitives. But this for me is all fairly experimental actually still. And I am using it as a learning experience to really truly understand these two different approaches. I don't have a smart thing to offer right now. And I think I've set it as my own goal to give more thought to this and to have some coherent idea before Monday's RTC call, because that's when it's regularly scheduled. But I guess I would invite anyone on this call who's interested in RTC to take a look at these two PRs, or even if you don't feel like taking a look at these two PRs, at least look at their front matter and see how they describe themselves. And if you'd like to discuss the issues, come on Monday. But since we also have a sparse group, sparse agenda today, if there's some sort of like thing that you would want to know that helps you think about this between now and then, I think Kevin's on the call too. Perhaps we can answer some questions you may have. Or if not, that is okay too. Yeah, Adam, what's up? Adam, we can't hear you right now. No, still no. I think
I can hear you quietly in the background, so maybe you're set up with the wrong mic.
Yeah, maybe.
I heard a very faint hi.
Yeah, that's probably better.
There you go. Cool.
Okay. So, yeah, now I can't hear anybody else. Sorry. Okay. So I think I got my sound figured out now.
Are you? Can you hear me now? Because
yeah.
no one was talking while you were.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I pressed some of the wrong buttons on my screen. Okay. So I'll just say this real quick. Sorry about all that. So anyhow, this isn't a technical issue, and it's probably not what people are concentrating on right now. But do either of the implementations preserve cell level undo? That's my question. Just because I know that's important to a lot of people.
So this is a design decision that is capable of being implemented with both of these designs. Neither design has an implication on that. That's a user experience choice that we can build on top of either implementation. And as far as I know, the idea is that we should have cell level undo, that that's what people want. Yeah, so I don't know, Kevin, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
No, that's right. Either approach will support that. It all depends on the move feature that we are currently shipping. And it's just so you know why it takes so long. It's really hard to implement that correctly. And we have now two versions where we need to implement that: the Python version or the Rust implementation and YJS. YJS supports move, but the Rust implementation does not. And for compatibility's sake, we need to really make sure that everything works correctly. Otherwise, we're going to have bad issues. So that's why it takes so long.
Cool, thanks. Okay, well, I think since we do have some points in the additional discussion section, we can jump to those, but I'll just give everyone a minute. Well, maybe not a whole minute because that's a lot of silence, but I'll give you a few seconds to think about whether there's something you'd like to discuss. Okay. No discussion needed for who is at SciPy next week, but if you are going to be at SciPy next week, add your name. Maybe you guys can meet up. And the second item there is from Lane talking about the CodeMirror 6 outstanding PR and one specific feature of it. So Lane, I will pass it on to you.
Yeah, sure. So it's just kind of a question. So Jupyter doesn't have indentation guides, kind of like you see on the screen here, which, you know, for an IDE is just kind of a little, it makes it feel less professional. So I was wondering if we're taking a look at all this CodeMirror upgrade, has anyone seen anything in relation to indentation lines and guides being present in CodeMirror 6? I saw there were a few people on the PR here. So I guess more of a feature request. I see Frederick's got his hand up.
Hey, Lane. So the idea first is to move on with .pr as a pure move of features that are existing,
right.
Because it's already a huge PR, as you have probably seen. And definitely after that, we will be able to add features if they are available in CodeMirror 6. I think they are available from a discussion with Johan, so it's probably possible to do that kind of indent line in CodeMirror 6.
Okay, I'll take a look at I'll have a look at the existing issues and see if there's anything in there and make one if not.
Lane, if you're going to be doing some research into this, if you found a CodeMirror 6 extension or plugin or something that supports it, that would be really useful to link in the thing as well.
I saw something about it on Discourse, but I'll do a deeper dive on it too.
Cool. Vidar, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to add I don't know how I haven't fully understood how the CodeMirror 6 extension system works, but I know it's gotten an overhaul and it's supposed to be more maybe easy to use in larger deploys like this, as JupyterLab. So it might also be good to think about for people to add CodeMirror extensions, because this is a good example of one of them, but there are multiple other requests that come in that are solved by CodeMirror extensions, right? So it would be good to make it easy to add new ones, or if there was a central extension that could be configured to settings. I don't know how it's done or how easy these things would be. So it's if you by looking at it learn anything, please write it down somewhere, or make an issue or make a suggestion if you feel you learned something. It will be useful later on.
So I can jump in here too. So indeed in CodeMirror 6, the idea is that you get two main elements for every editor. So you get a state and a view, and everything that's not in the core is extension. And basically almost everything is extension in CodeMirror 6. And the way it's implemented in the integration JupyterLab is that you get a predefined list of extensions that are loaded in the editors, but that list of extension can be dynamically changed. So extension will be able to plug or change that list of default extension for their needs. And that's the way it's gonna work. But definitely, probably it will be good to add in the JupyterLab examples, such an examples to plug a CodeMirror extension within a JupyterLab extension.
Yeah, it seems as though with the CodeMirror 5 plugin system, we never found a really graceful way of integrating CodeMirror extensions into Lab. Like we just had two different extension philosophies. Do you know if CodeMirror 6 is better for this purpose?
I mean, it's probably better in the sense that you don't need anymore to deal with the global object, and everything is per editor. So it will be probably cleaner, but probably the first example we come out with will make that obvious or not. So that will be a good example. Another trouble that's like hit by Johan like yesterday is about teaming. So CodeMirror 6 is using CSS in GS teaming. There are no more using, I mean, you can still use the old way of doing CSS, pure CSS rule for teaming CodeMirror 6, but that's not the recommended way. The recommended way is not to use CSS in GS. It's not too complicated. So we're probably gonna migrate to that. And the consequence to it is that we're probably gonna drop the default theme that are shipped with CodeMirror 5 and that for now user can pick up from the menu in JupyterLab for JupyterLab 4, because there are no more in CodeMirror 6, and it's probably better to wait for feedback to decide which one are interesting to bring back in. So what Johan for now is just doing is creating our own Jupyter theme to bring back the theming of CodeMirror using the Jupyter CSS variable. But I think like there is some theme that are called Zenburn and other things like that. So those are gone like officially in CodeMirror 6. And if we want to provide them, we'll need to create our own CodeMirror 6 theme.
So is the idea that JupyterLab themes will ship with a subsection for CodeMirror? So when you switch your lab theme, you apply a CodeMirror editor theme as well? Okay, cool.
Yeah. And
cool.
and just for the internals and to loop with the first question of Vidar, the theme in CodeMirror 6 is also an extension. That's how CodeMirror 6 is seeing theme. That's one of the reasons they advise to use CSS in JavaScript.
Cool. We are only 25 minutes in. We didn't start until 6 minutes past. So we've had 19 minutes of this call, really. Are we really out of stuff to talk about? I mean, if we are, that's cool. But now's the time to bring it up if there's something you'd like to discuss. Because otherwise we just get back 35 minutes. Some things are in the works.
There's things I'm considering, but I don't want to rush them. I just want to say I'm apologizing. You may actually get your time back simply because I'm slow.
Well, I think this is like that last 5 seconds of every Marvel property where you just put a teaser out there. So come on back and find out what Isabella was talking about next time. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.